Hello and welcome to the e-commerce money map podcast. We've got a special guest with us. Her name is Heather Udo. Heather's not new to us. She was a guest previously, and we had such an amazing conversation that I've invited her to come back and share with us more gems, more insights. Heather, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being here and I'm excited to continue the conversation.
Awesome. Great. Um, Very quickly, I'll share Heather's bio. She's the founder and CEO of Shoppable. Shoppable is an e-commerce infrastructure that helps brands, retailers, creators, and publishers power innovative commerce experiences anywhere. While with Shoppable, she won the 2013 Women in Digital Award from L'Oreal and was named one of the 10 most powerful millennials in Manhattan by Gotham Magazine and one of the 11 tech gurus changing the luxury game by Refinery 29. Shoppable was a 2014 Webby Award honoree for online shopping, a 2016 Webby honoree for technical achievement, and named one of the 100 brilliant companies by Entrepreneur magazine. She also holds three patents for the technology she invented. Wow, so much there. You've so many accomplishments. Must feel good to have done that in the last decade.
Yes. Last decade. Wow. Yeah, I suppose it has been.
Yeah. Time does fly, and entrepreneurship can be quite. It can lead to a busy life, and it can really suck us in as well. With just so much, there's so much to do, and so forth. So I've got a few questions, Heather, kind of relating to what is it like being a CEO, and how does a CEO maintain their sanity? Um, One of the things you did during a few years back during COVID was taking your virtual office. It was in Manhattan, New York City, and you've taken it and made it into a virtual setting.
Mhm.
What was that process like, and why did you even kind of do that?
Yeah, so we decided, it was interesting because we're based in New York and all of our employees except maybe one at the time were based in New York, so our office was downtown Manhattan. And during, when we had the opportunity to, we had this beautiful office, but made the decision to close it down and move completely remote for a couple different reasons. One was the fact that we just, that a lot of employees didn't need to come into the office and people preferred working remotely. And and for us as a company, um, we have, as a technology company, employees are able to have, they already had their laptop set up. We already had Slack set up. We already had Zoom. We already had really all of the tools set up
Mm,
to be ready to go virtually. But the benefits for the company were that it opened up additional budget from closing down a large office space that allowed us to be able to invest in additional resources. So we actually were able to onboard and expand our team and invest more in our technology and our product that helped us grow the business.
mm.
So it was really, there were different trade-offs, and it just made more sense for us as a business to actually at that point in time close down the office and move to be a fully remote business.
Yeah, yeah. Um, One of the things that happens when people come together in an office is, it possibly helps to build culture more because you're seeing each other. Was that a fear that, you'd have a hard time kind of keeping everyone on the same mission? And how have you overcome that?
Yeah, that's honestly, that was my biggest fear or my biggest concern, I should say, because, uh, our team, we've always, I think we've always had a kind of really close knit team and we've tried to do a good job of making, everyone feel very personable and not like surface level within the relationship. So that was certainly a concern. And the way that we've um, tried to balance that is by continuing to have quarterly offsites with the team. We still also do periodic happy hours and things like that. But like we also, after closing up the office, we decided to do longer offsites. So we even went like upstate New York, and I think I can't remember if we did 2 nights or 3 days, something like that. But we did more of like an extended offsite where it wasn't just strategy and planning together, but it was also pool parties and happy hours and things like that too. So and card games and more bonding. So we've tried to do certain things like that keep the team together, as well as
Mm.
we love a good hot seat, which you can do virtually too, and is kind of a good way to kind of keep the team bonding and helps people get to know each other better for new employees that are coming in.
Yeah, and I think you had mentioned it in a conversation before this interview was you've got 25 to 30 people on your team, and how often do you meet for the offsites?
We usually do quarterly offsites. That is
Mm.
kind of the right cadence that works for us.
Yeah. And is everyone local where they're drivable, or do you kind of, when you're hiring, are you making a decision that they've got to be within driving distance, or they can be further away and then they're flying in?
Great question. So for generally it depends on the role. So one of the benefits, and I didn't mention this, but one of the other benefits of going remote is from a hiring perspective, that it does kind of open up the talent pool, to
Mm.
further away. We have more flexibility, and we do hire outside of the New York area for certain positions. Although, for some positions where we do need them to be more local, depending upon if they're meeting with certain clients or sales and things like that, where they need to be more local. So it depends. We have employees in, I think, 4 different states.
Mm. Got it. Yeah. We're talking about employees. I want to kind of shift gears and ask you along the lines of hiring tips, techniques. What do you keep top of mind when you're looking to looking to hire more people in your team?
Yeah. So as far as hiring goes, you know, there's a process that I like to do, especially for my you mentioned the top of the call. So I'm the founder and CEO of Shoppable, but I also coach early stage entrepreneurs. And one process that I learned myself as an earlier stage entrepreneur, and that I've also taught other entrepreneurs to do too, that works really, really well for hiring, is prior to hiring, you should do a couple different parts of a process. One is whoever's making the hire, whether it's you or whoever the lead is within that place, should do what's called a time and energy audit, which means they need to go through their calendar and look at what parts of their day is giving them energy and which parts of their day is taking away energy and kind of dragging it down. And then use that to kind of highlight. And there are certain things that are giving them you want to focus on the things that are giving you energy and the things that are going to help the business grow, right? And then what are the things that you can hand off to a potential another hire or another team
Mm.
member? So you start with that time and energy audit. Then part two is essentially notes, which is whether I use like a sticky, a virtual sticky note or a shared Word doc or something. And you're going to start to write down, or whoever the hiring manager is, all of the tasks or individual needs that you have for what you for that person. And don't name the role. Like, you don't need, it's a mistake to name the role and the title first, especially early on, because you'll kind of pigeon yourself someplace.
Mm.
So actually let yourself, or whoever the hiring manager is, work and have the team work for a couple of weeks, and then write down, okay, this is what I need help with. This is what I'm not getting to.
Mm.
This is what I need someone to do. And then have a
Mm.
running list. And at the end of a week, it usually only takes a week, sometimes a couple days. Then you meet and go through that list and say, okay, here's what we have here. What kind of person do we need? And then you go through and identify the role. And multiple times I've seen people be a little bit surprised on who exactly they need to hire. So that's kind of a good process to
Mm.
help people understand who they should hire. Another part of that process is that I recommend is thinking about something called the replacement ladder, which is coined by an entrepreneur, Dan Martell, that is really about when you're hiring as a small business owner, you want to hire from the bottom up. So start staffing with more junior people, first and foremost with like an administrative assistant, and then you staff with like a customer success, or support or onboarding, depending upon your business type. Then you move up to like marketing, and then sales, and then at the very top you get up to executive levels. But a lot of people make the mistake of starting, and we were talking about this earlier, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that when they start a business, they need to build out their executive team first. And what
Mm.
does that do? They're the most expensive hires you're going to make. So
Mm.
it creates massive overhead, massive expenses for an entrepreneur. And oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes those executives are not only the most expensive, but they are sometimes also not going to be the ones that are as hands-on as the company really needs. So that's why you want to think about that replacement ladder too, and building your company and the hires from the ground up.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that idea may have come from the book Good to Great, finding the right
Yes,
people
yes,
and
yes,
then putting them in the right seat. And maybe
yes.
people feel that they've got to kind of fill their C-suite executives first, the higher levels, and then kind of, they'll find the people under them. And that can be a costly exercise as well.
You're right. There's a tie-in on in Good to Great too.
Right, right, right. Cool, cool. Um, when it comes to like leading a team of 25 to 30, you mentioned the offsite retreats that you have. What else has been effective for you in in keeping everyone together on the same mission aligned? How often do you meet? Like, is it effective team meetings? What's been effective for you from that standpoint?
Yeah. Uh, so as far as other kind of key meetings, I think a daily stand-up, when you go to a remote work environment, a daily stand-up becomes very important. So we have a daily stand-up every day, 9 a.m. Cameras on mandatory. And
Hmm.
I think that is super important. Both of those things are super important because when you go remote, you lose a lot, you lose communication that just kind of happens naturally in the office.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have to, the opposite is that you have to force it a little bit more in a remote environment. So you have to make sure that you have in place the right meetings set up or the right environments for proper communication. So we do a daily stand-up. Usually those meetings, they're almost always like 15 minutes. They're very short. We try to
Hmm.
keep everybody going like real quick. What are they doing? What are they focused on? Very
Hmm.
rarely do they take longer. If they take longer, it's because there's something very important that
Hmm.
everybody needs to be aware of, or there's a big issue, there's a fire, or there's something just really important that everybody needs to talk about. Um, but that's become critical. Now, the camera thing, and I know this is like a hot thing because some people hate going on cameras. Um, but when you are not in an office anymore, you don't see people. And again, when as a leader, I want to build a connection with my employees and I want them to have a connection with me. And when it comes to my customers and our sales, prospects, I want to be able to have that connection. So cameras on is super important because if you're staring at a black screen and vice versa,
Hmm.
old school phone calls, you're missing body language, you're missing facial expressions, and that is a big, big part of a connection, and that would be completely gone. So I say it's mandatory that for that meeting, and
Hmm.
external meetings as part of our part of our rules too for external meetings too, cameras are on, so we're
Hmm.
making that extra connection, and it really does help with
Hmm.
the team bonding that we're able to have. And sometimes, an employee's child will wander into the frame and join our stand up in the morning, and it's just part of life. And
Hmm.
we'll say good morning to whichever child, and and the background brings in conversation too and small talk that would be like water cooler stuff that you would get within the office. So
Yeah.
it becomes kind of a natural part of the,
Hmm.
but that is very intentional.
Yeah. And is it literally a stand up? Everyone's got to stand up.
I don't require that.
Okay.
We used to do that in the office, but yeah, not anymore.
Yeah. So if it's 25 people and it's a stand up, it's 15 minutes. Is it quickly going around the room and everyone shares what they're doing? And can it get monotonous where it's like, I did my thing. Now I got to hear 24 others say their thing.
It can. On some days it's like, I mean, and I know sometimes the engineers feel it's funny because I think especially like the engineers, like they're working on, some will be working on like one thing every day
Yeah.
for a while. So they're like, well, I'm
Right.
working on X again. Okay. No. Whereas like a
Right.
salesperson might be, I've got this call and this call and this call and this.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, don't read your whole schedule.
Yeah. Right.
No.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, for some, I know it can be a little bit more monotonous than others.
Right. Cool. 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 One of the like when I read your bio, you've earned a lot of awards, and I kind of want to ask you, like, has that been an intentional marketing strategy for you to do that, and has it been effective?
Mhm.
Would you encourage others to kind of get noticed in their area?
Yeah, so I would say yes, it has. So it depends on like whether or not it's effective, I think depends on what someone's goals are. So with Shoppable, our, you know, I our customers are largely Fortune 100, Fortune 200 businesses. They're very, very large companies. So we are pretty much always the small guy at the table, the small brand, having, in these conversations. So part of selling to them is I need credibility, I need trust, I need their trust, I need social proof.
Mm,
And so one of the awards that I won was with L'Oreal. So part of winning that was we won a pilot with L'Oreal. So L'Oreal was immediately one of our customers and one that we could talk about and speak about. And that is a game changer for a
mm,
business. So that was absolutely an intentional strategy and one
mm.
by that helped us tremendously. Like we're so grateful to L'Oreal for that opportunity because it helped us open up many other doors. So I would absolutely recommend it to other entrepreneurs because it does help your credibility. If, okay, L'Oreal is
Yeah,
willing to work with this company,
yeah,
that says something.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Good for you. Recognizing that and having that kind of in your credibility things, having a name like that that's pretty amazing. So kind of getting close to the last several minutes of the interview. Um, I want to kind of shift gears and talk about the new startup. And you've been in that space. You've been coaching startup companies. A couple of questions I have. One is, how long have you been coaching them? Like in a formal setting where you've got a business and it's you're providing that service. Has it been months, years? How long has it been?
So I've been doing it for about 9 months now. So just since the beginning of the year, I started doing it.
Got it. Um, what has been interesting observations for you in this 9 months? What are one or two things that have surprised you that you've learned about yourself or about the people that you're mentoring?
Um, yeah, I mean, one thing that I learned about myself, I guess to answer the first part of your question, um, I hadn't, in all honesty, I hadn't planned on coaching. It wasn't something that I'd really thought like, okay, that I could be helping someone else in the way that I actually am today. But my business coach that I've worked with for a long time was pushing me, encouraging me, and he said, you've had your company for so many years. And he looked at me and he said, "You're selfish to not be coaching other people at this point in
Mhm.
the stage of your career." And he just stopped me in my tracks. I was like, "Oh my God, like you're probably right." So I kind of
Mm,
like put something out online, was like, could anyone use like, would
mm.
anyone be interested in this? So instantly people said yes. So I would say that was kind of surprising, where I was just like, okay, this clearly I was wrong to not even like consider it and think about it. So that was certainly surprising. But it's so great. Like it's, one of the best parts of the week to be able to work with other entrepreneurs. And it is, it's rewarding to be able to help other entrepreneurs. And I mean, the early stages are super fun and exciting when you're out there talking to early customers. You're trying to find product market fit. Those early sales conversations. It's a very exciting. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are one or two things that you've observed about early startups? Perhaps it's a common advice you've been seeing that you're giving them that they need at that stage.
Yeah, commonalities across them, I would say, is um I would say a couple, like one of the themes, couple of themes recently, I would say is one, the need their need to talk to their customer base earlier and more often, and and helping to be able to understand what the market wants and what the market's kind of get an understanding of what the market expects
Yeah.
earlier. I think some entrepreneurs wait too long. I would say that's one commonality. And then another one is, for some of the entrepreneurs I'm working with that are a little bit later, that have had their business for a few years, I would say, but are hitting kind of like this pain line, if you will, where it's kind of painful for them to grow. And they're kind of worried about it. And that goes back to hiring the wrong people and not having the right support staff with them. So it's become kind of painful for them. So they're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get back to the place where I love my business again? And that's what I've been working with on a couple of the other or with a couple of the other entrepreneurs on restructuring some of their team and making it more efficient for them, so that they can remove the block that they feel, and that feeling of being like stuck and not
Yeah.
wanting to grow and not being able to grow.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 Wow, this is so good. I really appreciate it, Heather.
Thank
We
you.
took
I
a
always
kind of
enjoy speaking with you.
yeah, different set of kind of questions and just coming from a very different place in our first interview. What's the best place for folks to learn about you if they're interested in coaching? How do they kind of reach out to you?
Yeah, the best place is on Instagram. So I'm at Heather_Udo, which is spelled UDO. I'm also on LinkedIn, but the best place is on Instagram. Follow me and then send me a DM.
Awesome. Great. Anything you want to add? Final words of wisdom? Uh, anything kind of any insights you got as you were sharing all the different stuff today?
Anything final? I mean, I just really appreciate the time here, and I think it's really appreciate what you're bringing to all of these entrepreneurs and business owners. I think it's amazing that you're getting this out. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Heather, great talking to you and really appreciate your time and wisdom. You take care.
Thank you. You too.